So the end of my last video was pretty disappointing. We were shooting my 300 Blackout SBR. It's got a 10.3 inch barrel. We were shooting it suppressed. I had just reassembled the rifle, just wanted to get it out, test it, make sure everything was going okay, and load up some subs and supers. The most important thing were the subs. I wanted to have subs loaded up and on hand so I could shoot the gun every once in a while. At the end of the video, we've got the gas system tuned for our Subsonics. Everything's going great. We try the supers and they're not feeding properly. Nope. Too much gas. So in that video, I acted like it's no big deal. I've got my subs. I'm fine. We're good. I wasn't fine. I wasn't good. I was angry and annoyed. I wanted both of them to run the gun. So what I ended up doing with the ammo that I loaded in that video was pulling out my JP silent captured spring and all of the spring kits and extra weights and crap I had bought for this thing. This was another item just sitting around in my junk pile with my SBR parts wasting money. So I thought I'll pull it out, we'll try some different stuff and maybe that'll get it going. I ran out of ammo before I made any progress. Got to try some stuff, but nothing really worked. So I've kind of put this back into the standard configuration I had it before, kind of a mid-weight spring and one extra tungsten buffer weight. So that's what I'm going to use today. And the plan, the hope, the mandate for today's video is to get subs and supers loaded up that will run in this gun with a suppressor and function flawlessly. And I think we can do that with nothing more than smarter powder selection. Because the powders in that video were Accurate number 9 and Winchester 296. Great powder. I did Subsonics with Accurate number 9. It's a fast burning powder for 300 Blackout, so like the charge weights are really small. Should get a good complete burn even in the short barrel. And that all worked out pretty good. You know, we ended up with a subsonic load. We were shooting 190 grain Hornady Sub X. That all went fine. The problem was that for supersonics, we were shooting the 110 grain Hornady VMAX. I chose Winchester 296. It's probably my favorite powder for supers. Usually get really good velocity. It's like H110 and Winchester 296, which the last I heard, they're the same powder, just in different containers. Those two powders really match perfectly with 300 Blackout for supers. It works pretty good for subs too, but I love it for supers. So now the problem with this powder selection for subs and supers is that it's basically backward. If I had done it the other way, if I had done Subsonics with Winchester 296 and Supersonics with Accurate number 9, that would have had a much better chance of working, of functioning the gun. Because we would have had, you know, supers with the small charge weight, less powder, less gassy, and we would have had Subsonics with more gas. Let me expand the list of powders here. With Winchester 296 in the middle, to the left, I've got Vihtavuori N110, Alliant 2400, and Accurate number 9. So all of these belong to the fast burning side of the 300 Blackout powder list. There's no list, but imagine there's a list. If you've got a gun that's under gas, you can't get enough gas to get it to function. These are your worst nightmare. So the fast burning group, less gassy. And then on the other side of things, here's some Vihtavuori N120, some Accurate 5744, and some Shooter's World Blackout. This is the slow burning, the gassy side of things. Another one that would definitely go in this group, Accurate 1680, Hodgdon CFE Black, Reloader 7. There's several others on the slow side of things. So if I look at this lineup of powders and I'm loading for my SBR, the surest bet would be to have your Subsonics be as gassy as you can get them, and for your supers to be the least gassy they can be. So if I did my Subsonics with Shooter's World Blackout and I did my Supersonics with Alliant 2400, which I think this is a little bit faster than Accurate number 9, I think. I don't know, they're pretty darn close, but this is a good example. Gassy subs, not so gassy supers. Would this work in my gun? That's exactly what I want to do. I want to load this up and go out and check. I'm pretty sure this combo will work. That's my guess. If we wanted to use Vihtavuori, if we were Vihtavuori guys, N110 for our supers, N120 for our subs. Is that going to work? I think it's going to work. Or is this all an overreaction? Maybe if I just use Winchester 296 for the subs and the supers, maybe that would work. I want to test that as well. So that's the premise of today's video. We're going to load our subs as slow and gassy as we need to. And our downside here is going to be probably dirtier shooting, maybe a little bit more action noise. I've noticed that. Like the gun is definitely, it runs quieter with the faster powders versus the slow. But it's a pretty small difference. And on the other side where we're loading supers with the faster powders, our main downside is going to be loss of velocity. We're going to be giving up a couple hundred feet per second of muzzle velocity compared with some of these others. So here's what I've done to prepare. So the 4 powders here on the right, these are going to be our subsonic powders. And I've already fired 20 shots to go out and get an idea about velocity on these. I'll figure out a way to put this on the screen. I shot 3 shots with each powder. I went into the Hornady manual and just loaded whatever was in their 1100 feet per second column and went down from there. So they were all a little bit low, which I expected, you know, with the short barrel. So I came back in, put those numbers into the spreadsheet, did a linear trend line to try and predict what would give us about 1,050 feet per second, and loaded up 2 shots at those charges, and then went back out and got measurements with those. The Blackout load was just a 10th high, just a little bit high, but the others were right on the money. So those are our 4 subsonic loads that we're going to be testing with. On the supersonic side of things, I just grabbed some numbers out of the Hornady manual. All of this is coming from the Hornady manual. I just picked a number that was a little bit under their maximum, double checked it in some other areas, and yeah, those are the numbers we're going to try. I guess I probably should have mentioned what bullet we're going to shoot. I've got some of the 208 grain Hornady match boat tail hollow points. Started with a full box of those. I've already shot 20, so we've got 80 if we need them. I don't think we'll need them. And if we run out, I've got a partial box of some of the 208 grain ELD match. Load data should be pretty close on the 2, I think. On the super side of things, I've got 48 of the 110 grain Hornady VMAXs left, the bullet we shot in the last video. So if we're going to run out of something, it's going to be these. And if we do, I've got some of the 125 grain Hornady SSTs we could switch to. I hate to switch bullet weights, but it is what it is. And some of the Spear TNTs, like maybe 125 of these. We've got no shortage of components. So we're going to get to the bottom of this. We're going to find a couple of loads that work in my gun and get it running like a sewing machine. Now, I had to come down to these 7 powders from a list of like 20, right? There's a lot of, well, like we were already talking about, Accurate 1680 or Lul Gun or IMR 4227 or IMR 4198 or Reloader 7 or CFE Black. I just had to draw the line somewhere. All of these were in the Hornady manual, so it seems like a pretty good lineup that should tell us what we need to know, hopefully. So I am switching to CCI number 41 primers. We used those Federal AR primers in the last video. I ran out of those. The supers with Winchester 296, we'll use the ones that I loaded in the last video. I've still got some of those left. And remember, we're running low on the VMAXs, so that'll be a good way to stretch those. So let's load a few, go to the range, load a few more. You know, we'll just go back and forth from the bench to the range so we don't end up with a whole bunch of ammo loaded that we don't need. I've got about 150 pieces of brass that are fully prepped. It's the same Gemtech brass that I shot in the last video. I've got about 200 pieces of this Gemtech brass floating around, and this is just going to be my SBR brass. Assuming it holds up, because if you remember in the last video, I had some primer pockets that were loose. I went ahead and grabbed, it's around here somewhere, my primer pocket gauge and checked them all. I had to discard 40-something pieces of brass for bad primer pockets. So hopefully what I've got here, good primer pockets, hopefully it'll last a little bit longer. So this stuff is ready for powder and bullet. Same setup as the last video. The die's still in the press from the last video. So I'm trying to decide how many to load. And I think what we'll do, so like let's say the first test, let's test Alliant 2400 and Shooter's World Blackout. So we start with subs, we adjust the gas block properly for that powder, and then it's just a matter of trying the supers and seeing if they run. So we need more subs than supers, which is good. We've got more bullets available for those. I guess how quickly I get the gas block adjusted is going to be the big variable here. So this first one, let's load 10 of each, and I'll also load some Subsonics with Winchester 296 to go with the supers we've already got, and those will be our first 2 tests. And if things go as I expect, this will work. If this doesn't work, then we're in trouble. But I assume this is going to work, and Winchester 296, I have no idea. I bet it doesn't work. Let's load them up and find out. So my normal powder safety precautions kind of have to go out the window when I'm dealing with this many powders. So I think I'm going to weigh out charges, seat those bullets, and just do them one at a time, try and make sure I don't get myself confused. Started with my 10 charges of Alliant 2400 for the supers, and I'll use one of the ones we loaded in the last video to make the die setup a little bit easier. My RCBS seating die is already set up for the subs, so I pulled out my Lee die to use for the supers. So these lead eyes, you screw them in until they touch and then lock them down. And I should be able to run this round up in here and then screw down the adjuster. Okay, good. Should get us really close. Let's try this first one and see. I think the overall length is 2.050, I think. Yeah, and the first one comes out perfect. I think that's the easiest seating die setup I've ever seen. Second one's 2.049. Good. A lot of times when I use a round to set up a die, it comes out just a little bit long, you know, and you need to screw it down just a little bit more to get where you want to be, but this one seemed to work. Hopefully I've found a way to make this test seem coherent, because thinking back about what I've already recorded, seems like a bunch of babbling nonsense, to be honest with you. Just looking for a powder combo that works better than that last video. They can't get worse, I guess. So that's a relief. Okay, there's the supers. Okay, Winchester 296 subs are weighed out, so that's that die. I think these were at about 2.255, something like that. The Hornady manual always says 2.250, and you know, normal magazine length 2.260. Somewhere in that range, anywhere would be fine with me, but we'll double check it. 2.259, and that one's 2.251. These bullets in particular, I'll tell you what, this next one here is a good example. They've got some jacked up hollow points. This is actually extremely drastic. I don't know if I've ever seen one this bad. So it doesn't look bad. See, the hollow point on the right is a little bit bigger. But if we look at it from the side, I'll try and get them lined up about as straight as I can. You see that massive difference in length? That's all basically, the one on the right is just missing the entire little tip of that hollow point. So the long one is 2.259 and the short one is 2.230. So 20 thousandths difference in bullet length between those two. Does not matter at all. At least for me in this context, you know. If I was shooting for precision, maybe skip over that bullet. Okay, so I need to weigh out 10 charges of Shooter's World Blackout. And then we're ready to head out to the range for the first time. Not much really going on here. Okay, so I think I'm set up. I've got a steel plate out at about 50 yards. That doesn't really matter so much. Got the lab radar chronograph set up. Velocities don't really matter all that much. It's all about how the gun functions. So the first comparison we're going to make, Subsonics with Shooter's World Blackout and Supers with Alliant 2400. If this doesn't work at all, we're in trouble. So step one, I'm going to adjust my gas block so that it just locks open with the Subsonics. I'm starting 3 clicks out on the gas block, so we'll just shoot one at a time, see what happens. That didn't even eject the brass, so I'm going to go 2 clicks. Okay, that did lock the bolt back. Okay, let's jump straight to the real test. So I've got 5 rounds in the magazine. It's going to start off with a sub, go to a super, a sub, a super, and then a sub. If it can run a magazine that way, then we call it good. I was really hoping that's what we would see. So fantastic news. The gun felt good as well. Like the recoil and stuff, and the action felt smooth. So with the rounds I've got left, I want to check our margins. So that was 5 clicks out on the gas block. I already know that 3 clicks did not lock the bolt back. So I want to move it down to 4. Let's see if it runs through them at 4. And then we'll go the other direction and give it a lot of gas and see if we start having problems. We'll run out of ammo here at some point, but that's okay. Okay, this time it's going to be 3 supers and 2 subs. So we'll start with the super. Nope. Nothing there on the 3rd shot. We had an empty chamber. Good. So that's at 4 clicks. We know it worked at 5 clicks. Okay, so I moved it all the way out to 8 clicks. Hopefully we're a little bit over-gassed. Let's see if it runs. Perfect. Okay, so I've come out 2 more clicks. That's 10 clicks out. I've got 6 shots left. We're going to start with 2 supers and then start alternating. Beautiful. Beautiful. So what we've just proven is that Shooter's World Blackout and Alliant 2400 will play together very nicely. We've got a wide range of good settings on our gas block. All the way from 5 to 10 clicks is working fine. So perfect result. And that's why I wanted to do this one first, just to make sure this was even possible. All right, so I just moved the gas block back to 5 clicks. We'll use that as a starting point for Winchester 296. We've got subs and supers, both with Winchester 296. Same process here. We'll start with subs. We'll do them one at a time and adjust until it locks the bolt back. I just moved it down to 4 clicks. And that did not lock the bolt back. Good. It's about what I expected. It's not quite as gassy as we saw with Blackout, but still pretty good. What I would expect. Okay, this is our first gauntlet magazine. So I'm back on 5 clicks. It locked the bolt back earlier. So let's see if it'll run the magazine. 3 supers and 2 subs in here. Man, that's great news. Okay, so I've moved the gas block all the way out to 10 clicks. This should be a lot of gas, I think. Okay, so I went back down 2 clicks, so this is 8 clicks. So looking at kind of the results of these first 2 here, you know, they were both good at 5 clicks and both good at 10. So 5 to 10 seems to be a good range for both of these. So here's a full magazine with a bunch of both. Let's see if it runs. That is fantastic. All right, let's get back to the bench. Let's stream up some more powder combinations to test. So I decided to just load more of everything. I've got at least 10 of all 8 of our loads. So a couple things I want to do before I forget and run out of ammo is I want to get velocity numbers on all of these supers. So I've got the lab radar back to rifle mode. We'll do that first. I put the gas block on 10 clicks. That's worked for everything so far. We'll see if it runs all of these. I expect it will. So we'll start with 2 shots of the Alliant 2400 load, 16.2 grains of Alliant 2400. And I've switched to another plate with some fresh paint a little bit farther out at about 75 yards. See if we can hit it. Okay, Alliant 2400 looked good. This is 16.8 grains of Vitivory N110. Okay, next is 17 grains of Accurate number 9. So that brings us to our last one, which is Winchester 296. And this is the one, you know, from the last video in my testing with the JP buffer set up, I know this load can outrun the gun. I know I can get myself in an overgas situation that won't feed. So I'm going to go ahead and move out from 10 clicks to, let's do 12. We'll do 2 clicks at a time and see if we can get it to malfunction. So now I'm out to 14 clicks. Malfunction, good. That left an empty chamber. I'm going to go down 1. So this is 13 clicks. So 13 clicks ran fine, so we'll call 14 clicks the first bad spot for Winchester 296. So the velocities there look pretty good. That accurate number 9 number might be a little bit hotter than we should be, but those numbers work for me. So let's move on. Let's do another comparison. Let's do the Vitivori ones first. So I'm going to start out with our N120 Subsonics, 10.8 grains of N120, and we'll see how the gas system does with these. I've got us on 3 clicks again. So let's see how these do. My trigger's not set. I wonder if that last, see, the last thing we shot was that 13 clicks out with the supers. So maybe it didn't quite lock the bolt all the way back. Yeah, that's the only explanation. So make a quick note of that. All right, let's try this again. Nope, trigger's still jacked up. I must have popped a primer and I bet it fell down. So I didn't find anything down on the trigger and it seems to be working fine. So that's a bit of a mystery right now. Man, I really had to yank on that trigger to get that to go off. It did not lock the bolt back. I'm not sure what was going on with this trigger. It seems to be working fine now. Weird. Okay, I'm out to 4 clicks on the gas block. So I think I miscounted on the gas block. That last one was 4. Yeah, I think I've tested 2, 3, and 4 so far, so this is 5. And that locked the bolt back. Okay, so this magazine has 3 subs and 2 supers. All right, killed our target and ran perfect. So good to go there with Vitivori. Let me go fix the target and we'll try something else. Okay, next let's do Subsonics with accurate 5744 and we'll test it with some accurate number 9 supers. Okay, once again 5 clicks is the magic setting. Okay, this is 3 subs and 2 supers on 5 clicks. So I just cranked the gas all the way back up to 14 clicks. And I want to try some of these other supers. We know that Winchester 296 fails at this setting. Let's try some accurate number 9. These are the closest in velocity. So let's see how they do on 14. Those ran with no problem. Just for the heck of it, here's 3 with Alliant 2400. And here's a couple with Vitavori N110. And I assume Subsonics are going to run at this gas setting no problem. So here's a bunch of them in here. This is a variety of all of our loads. And once again, my trigger's stuck. I've only run into this trigger problem with this, gas setting up here at 14. So I think it's just not resetting properly. So back to our subs. Let's see if they run. I expect these to run fine. Not sure why I kept missing, but the gun ran good. So the picture I'm seeing right now is every Subsonic runs with the gas block at 5 clicks or more. And all of the supers definitely ran good from 10 and down. The messing around we did at 13 and 14 clicks and the trigger reset issues, we never saw any of that when we were at 10. So 5 to 10, still a nice, big, wide, good area if you ask me. My suppressor had started coming loose just a little bit. Doesn't look like I had a baffle strike or anything, but I need to keep an eye on that. Okay, one final test and we're going to call this good. I've got the gas block on 7. Every sub has been good on 5, so that gives us a couple clicks of margin there. All the supers have been good all the way up to at least 10 clicks. So I think 7 is going to be my permanent setting. I've got this whole magazine set up, alternating subs and supers. It includes some of all of our loads. Hopefully I don't have to stop and reset the target 15 times because it keeps falling over. Suppressor check. How many have we shot? There it is. Okay, so I definitely want to gather my thoughts, get back to the bench and talk this out. I need to edit the video up to this point and make sure I can present this in a comprehensible manner. So as I was editing, I couldn't help but wonder if this gun would run without the suppressor. So I've got the gas block out on 10, and I've only got a couple supers left. These are with Winchester 296. Those ran fine, and that fireball was gigantic. Here are a couple subs. Wow, they ran and locked the bolt back. Here's 2 more. So all of those ran great. That is pretty darn cool. So nothing but success today, right? I didn't expect those to run without the suppressor. I'm going to be honest with you. That's pretty cool. that I've now got a list of loads that will work in this gun under any circumstances. It's a whole lot better place than we were at the end of the last video. I wasn't sure it was going to come across on camera, but hopefully you guys got the feel for how bad the trigger was today. Yeah, that trigger needs cleaned really bad. And it's a crappy trigger that I don't really like. It's an old trigger I used to have and use that gave me some problems. So I wouldn't mind a heavy trigger in this gun. I might put a GI trigger in it or something. It wouldn't really bother me. So hopefully this video makes sense. I've edited it up to this point, and I think it is a bit of a mess and might be hard to follow. But if you're in the situation where you've got gas problems and need some guidance, hopefully what you need is in here. It's really as simple as making your subsonics gassier and making your supers less gassy. I kind of wish we had had one or two failures. You know, everything we tried worked, which I guess might explain why this really stuck in my craw so much. There are so many different ways to get it right that it was super annoying that I got it so wrong in the last video. Just didn't think it through. You know, powder selection matters. So I think that's where we'll leave it, folks. Sorry for the huge gap between my videos. I got sick and I've been slow to completely shake it. Hopefully listening to me talk with my nose all plugged up at the beginning of the video wasn't too annoying or gross. And hopefully now I can get back onto a better schedule of getting some videos out. Tell you what, this was a good way to come back, man. I'm feeling good about this. It's a really fun little gun to shoot. All right, that's it. Thanks for joining me. See you guys next time.